August 14th, and the central train stations of Moscow and Russia are on fire. It hit hard, guys. The railways have been blown up by the Ukrainian armed forces. Trains have derailed, a freight train is burning, and a logistics center has been destroyed. The Leningradsky and Paveletsky stations in the capital of Mordor are under attack by the armed forces of Ukraine. Operation Web continues. There's chaos and a total evacuation among Muscovites.
It's absolute mayhem at Kamysholomni. I called Russian Railways and they said, "We fixed everything. Nothing is delayed. Come on over." And over there, there's a fight breaking out. The railway got hit right by the bridge. Bada boom!
Moscow's trains have been blown up. Hundreds are trapped under the rubble. The platform is filled with smoke. Evacuation of the railways.
Near Vaganichi.
Message. Dear passengers,
132 trains to Crimea and the Caucasus have been delayed. The entire southern railway of Russia has come to a halt. People are lying on the floor in panic. There's no water, it's hot, people are hysterical. Evacuation is beginning.
yeah, it's just that incredibly simple and straightforward.
And this is Sheremetyevo and Vnukovo. 1,000 flights have been cancelled there. Passengers are being given inflatable mattresses to sleep right on the floor.
It feels like after the show The Last Hero, I'm now on the series Lost. They've already been traveling for 23 hours, as the board shows us.
But it's all an illusion that we're actually here right now.
One more attempt to finally get out. That's it. This time we're going to make it. I thought there would be fewer people at Sheremetyevo. Apparently, the airport handed out mattresses to those who have to wait a long time.
There's panic, total chaos. It's impossible to leave. Hell, heat, stuffiness, shouting, children on the floor, no water. People are sleeping on concrete. Instant noodles and a bottle for 3 people. That's all they've given out in more than a day. Ukrainian drones have been attacking Russia, Moscow, and St. Petersburg for the 4th day in a row. We'll discuss all this with top analyst Alexander Demchenko right now. Breaking news, friends. Ukrainian armed forces are striking the railways. We attacked 5 districts at once. There's a fire at a railway station in the Moscow region. A freight train is burning. The passenger train was urgently evacuated. We are blowing up train stations, railway junctions, military equipment, and Russia's vital arteries. Hell, heat, stuffiness, screams, no water. Collapse in Russia. Meanwhile, at railway stations in Moscow and other regions of Russia, there is collapse, panic, evacuation, and stampedes. 132 trains have been delayed. We are attacking not only military airfields, but also railway junctions, Russia's vital arteries. More than $50 million in losses, and all this can't be fixed even in half a year. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled. Passengers in Moscow are trapped. Sheremetyevo, Pulkovo, and Zhukovsky airports are paralyzed. Panic, stampedes, disruptions, and even Telegram isn't working. FSB is jamming communications. We are entering a phase of total pressure by rail, by air, by sea. Let's discuss all this with top analyst Alexander Demchenko right now. Sasha, welcome.
Hello, Dasha. Hello, everyone.
What do you think about our pressure on the railways and aviation? I suggest we start with the railways, because we've been constantly blowing up railway junctions and military equipment convoys over the past few weeks.
As for the strikes directly on the railways, I keep saying that Ukraine is disrupting Putin's August offensive. The offensive was supposed to happen in August. They announced it themselves. Well, I want to see how that plays out, because the Ukrainian side, the Ukrainian armed forces, are now actively and massively destroying railway junctions, substations, railways, entire tracks. A huge stretch of track has been destroyed in the Rostov region. The Rostov region is a crucial area because it is the southern military district of the Russian Federation. Accordingly, a lot of military hubs, equipment, ammunition, supply of food, blood, and everything else you can imagine are concentrated there. Everything goes through Rostov and is supplied from there, especially if we're talking about the Donbas direction for Vladimir Putin. That is why Ukraine is now deliberately striking at railway hubs, and since the entire railway system, as well as all air traffic, is centered on Moscow, all of this indicates that Ukraine is disrupting Putin's plans for a successful, not just summer, but already summer-autumn offensive, since Vladimir Putin, screwed up the first summer offensive. He threatened so much that he would encircle Sumy, surround Sumy, take Odessa, approach Kharkiv, move toward Dnipro, and capture Zaporizhzhia and Kherson. So where is all of that? Where is all of that? He strikes at women in labor, kills pregnant women. How many times has it been already? For the third time in the past month, Vladimir Putin has struck a maternity hospital, hit maternity hospitals, struck a clinic in Odessa, tried to kill a large number of people right on the beach, on the sea. People were relaxing there, and attacked them with his drones. Children, women, the elderly, men. In other words, this particular situation is truly out of a profound sense of helplessness, and indeed it stems from a complete lack of accountability or impunity, primarily because he apparently thought, though he was profoundly wrong to think so, it was a significant and grave mistake to think that he would not under any circumstances be punished for his actions. A response will follow in the coming days. Trump didn't just reduce the ultimatum. He dramatically reduced the ultimatum period to every 10 to 12 days. There's a certain logic here that isn't directly related to just playing with the number of days. This is directly related to Ukraine's and America's and the West's overall readiness to conduct a large-scale, massive special operation on Russian territory. I'm sure that on the 10th, or rather the 11th day most likely, or on the 13th, depending on how Trump counts it. But it's clear that the peak will fall between August 6th and 8th, and after that things will get very heated in Moscow. No one is going to wait for Putin standing in Beijing next to Xi Jinping. Strikes will be carried out when Putin is in Russia, in Moscow, at the decision-making center, near the Kremlin, or somewhere at his Dasha in his residence, hiding in a bunker or in a portable toilet. But it's obvious that there will be a special operation. In fact, these special operations are already taking place. You just mentioned Aeroflot. All the airports went down. Aeroflot, the monopoly, went down too. No company like Pobeda with their aging passenger and aircraft fleet will help. Aeroflot went down, and it's down for half a year to a year. They should have been working on import substitution. Where is that damn import substitution? There is no import substitution. Are you still using those old Windows systems? Nothing helps. Old software? Yeah. Well, that's it. Now the planes don't take off, they don't fly, there's no refueling, all the passengers are just standing there, the boards aren't working, all the airports are closed. $50 million, just $50 million a day from a single airport, that's what Russia is losing, and all the airports across Russia are closed. Not a single plane, not one, is taking off or landing, nothing. This isn't a contingency plan, this is a total disaster plan, you understand? That's what it's called. By the way, Dasha, I actually think that in the near future, Putin will kill another one, his second minister. Just wait, it will happen soon. He just appointed Nikitin as the new Minister of Transport, already said that any questions about Aeroflot and this whole collapse should be addressed to the new Minister of Transport, Nikitin. What does that mean? He's the next one to go out the window. That's it. So get ready. There will be another exit. Another minister will be killed in Russia, the second one already. Where is Shoigu? No one knows. To this day, he hasn't appeared. He hasn't shown up. Maybe he'll go to North Korea soon, because Putin forced, today's news, Russian children to write letters to Kim Jong-un from kindergarten and school. Just like that, by order. Write, serfs. Write and say, thank you very much, Comrade Kim, for sending not only your own meat along with ours, all mixed together, to fight against Ukraine and the entire West, and for helping Putin with artillery shells, and so on and so forth, down the list. But the fact is that Ukraine will disrupt the offensive, that Ukraine will carry out special operations. Listen, many people are saying that the operation involving this hacker attack on Aeroflot, and by the way, on the government services website, is being compared by many to the Web special operation in terms of its scale, saying that yes, from the perspective of a hacker attack, in this cyber segment, it is comparable. It's clear that Web was a blow to military capabilities. But this special operation that was carried out against Aeroflot was a direct message to Putin, you see, Dasha, showing that at any given moment they could cut off communications in the Kremlin, leaving the Kremlin without power, without communication, without security, without support, without anything. And that Putin could just be quietly taken out somewhere, eliminated without anyone noticing, and nothing would save him. That's why he's constantly being evacuated. Many people have already started saying that it wasn't Putin in St. Petersburg, but his double. Greetings to Valery Dmitrievich Solovey. That Putin didn't actually make it there, that it was some kind of stunt double. Remember the story, Dreamer, that's what you called me? Now it's a stunt double. Turns out in his youth, Vladimir Putin worked part-time as a stuntman. Soon we'll be telling stories that Vladimir Putin directed movies instead of Mikhalkov, danced in the circus instead of the performers, sang instead of the old ladies. You see? It's all Vladimir Putin. And it's Vladimir Putin who gives birth to children in Russia, and it's Vladimir Putin who baptizes them. Well, he definitely does the burying too, Vladimir Putin. Actually, no, he doesn't do the burying because he sends his dead to Ukraine and claims they're Ukrainian soldiers, when in reality he just doesn't want to spend money on his own soldiers or bury them in his own land. And he doesn't want to hand out extra money left and right to his people, to his own circle. That's why he commits such crimes. But the fact that Ukraine will thwart both Putin's August and autumn offensives is 100% certain. And he won't take any Sumy, any Odessa, any Kharkiv, or any Dnipro. The countdown has begun. Skabiva was counting from the 50th day over there. I want to see what will happen to all these Skabivas when Trump, who is furious, when Trump just loses it and delivers a colossal blow to Russia. Then I'll take a look at the Moscow exchange, at Putin, at Skabiva's face, at Solovyov's face, and at everyone else. What will they do? And 0 hour is approaching the climax, and this denouement is drawing near. We're already close. We're on the threshold of major, very major upheavals in Russia. Dasha, very major ones. It's not just a black swan that's arrived. August will be pitch black for Russia. Pitch black. Putin has never seen an August like this before. The most important question when we talk about Ukraine striking logistics, railway hubs, military airfields, and the Northern Pacific Fleet. Will America and Trump, for example, be involved in this, perhaps by providing missiles or some other kind of assistance? In other words, will we get today what everyone has written about JASSEMs and other Taurus missiles from the Germans, Tomahawks from the Americans, in order to carry out operations? Look, Dasha, Ukraine will get everything. Trump made it very clear in Britain after having made arrangements in advance with the Europeans. You know what that was about? Everyone says Trump is an idiot, right? Trump is an idiot, incapable of anything. He's just a businessman. I wish I could be that kind of busy businessman, damn. He went to the Middle East and brought back 4 trillion. He went with the Europeans to Scotland, had a meeting, and brought back 2.5, 3 trillion. Those are some good deals, damn. That's something else. What a great idiot, huh? Bankrupt Trump, 3 trillion. Where have you ever seen 3 trillion? Can you even imagine what 3 trillion is? Mavrodi, damn it, may he rest in peace, is turning over in his grave. He just collected money by the roomful. And here we're talking about $3 trillion. Putin's budget could only dream of that kind of money. Russia has never dreamed of that kind of money and never will. There's going to be a total collapse and catastrophe there soon. The economy there is going to be a disaster. And everyone knows this perfectly well, from the finance minister down to the most ordinary bureaucrat. And I'm not even talking about the average person on the streets of Moscow or other Russian cities. But Ukraine will get everything. Ukraine will get anti-missile systems. Trump will close the skies over Ukraine. Trump has no intention of talking to Putin anymore. He made this perfectly clear in front of Starmer. I won't call him anymore and I won't talk to him anymore. I know the answer. That's it. That's why the number of days was reduced. But I still, you see, it's not even that I'm holding on to hope. I have a suspicion that the reduction in days didn't just happen for no reason. First, they want to catch Putin in Russia, in Moscow, so that he doesn't fly to China, so that he doesn't have time. Second, they probably want to disrupt his offensive actions. Third, they want to ruin his mood and carry out more than one special operation on Russian territory. What we're seeing now with Aeroflot, multiply that by 10. Just imagine 10 such Putin 2.0 operations like the ones we've seen. Imagine the Americans are capable of this. Just recently, as a reminder, we talked about the strike on the command post from which Vladimir Putin was broadcasting, right? They know where Vladimir Putin is. They know where he's hiding, where he goes, which routes he takes, who is with him, what kind of security he has, how it changes, and so on. The security, half of them have been bought off, they're corrupt, and the security detail has long since betrayed Vladimir Putin. Everything has been sold out. Him, his inner circle, and so on. And his entourage actually wants him gone. He's even started taking money from his own people. He's already throwing his own ministers out of windows. Ministers are just executors of the will of the oligarchs, the will of the security forces. And Putin is strangling everyone. One group, another, and the third he throws out of windows or shoots himself. Well, so listen, in the near future, there's absolutely no bright prospects at all for Putin. Many will say, well, you're just making this up. You're saying things like this, period, as a form of support. Well, just look, friends, at what's actually happening. So Trump imposes sanctions. Trump supplies weapons to Ukraine. Every day, the Russian Federation is constantly losing, just tens, hundreds of billions lost by the Russian Federation, and Russia's logistics are being destroyed nonstop. Everything is falling apart in Russia. Houses are just exploding and collapsing for no apparent reason. Just now, in a penal colony, there was some kind of gas explosion, and now half the colony is gone, along with the inmates who were being sent to the front. All of this is happening right before our eyes. Do you understand? In St. Petersburg, why wasn't there a parade in St. Petersburg? Where's the Navy parade? Why did he hide out on some frigate? Let me explain. Yes, he's afraid. Yes, he doesn't come, and so on. That's why they're blowing up the Bosharov-Rushi residence in Sochi. It's clear. But there's another reason, Dasha. There are no ships. Where are the ships? The cruiser Moskva. Where's the aircraft carrier they're dismantling right now? Admiral Kuznetsov is the first and last aircraft carrier of the Russian Federation. What was the program? What bravado there was. We'll build an entire fleet of aircraft carriers, we'll outdo China, and America will catch up and win. So where's the victory? The victory is up their ass. You see? Instead of the double-headed ego, they should just put a butt there, Also 2 heads, you see, 2 parts. Just take it and put it there. It's no different from the current coat of arms of the Russian Federation because Putin has driven the entire Russian economy and his own people into the ground, and he's sending these people off. So what will Putin do next? He's got problems with the economy. He doesn't want to raise the ruble, doesn't want to let inflation spiral. He's already strangled Nabiulina to death. She's basically lying there, a corpse, somewhere in the morgue. He strangled Nabiulina and says, lower the rate. He and his security guys. So what is she supposed to do? She wants to live, so she lowers it. But the economy is done. In recession, nothing is working. It's collapse everywhere, bankruptcies everywhere except for military production. So what is he going to do next? He needs to end the war, but he doesn't want to end the war because he intends to redistribute the flows and give everything to his family and his daughter. I'm sure that many people are very skeptical about this right now, but I think that in the fall we'll see a government reshuffle, maybe even Mishustin's resignation. Very soon, it's just around the corner. He doesn't need this circus anymore, you see. He'll appoint his daughter or some friend of his daughter, Katerina Tikhonova, some associate of hers, to the post of prime minister. Why does he need the State Duma? Why does he need ministers? Why does he need propagandists when he has Pasha Zarubin? Why does he need oligarchs when he's got the Kovalchuks and that's enough? He doesn't need any of this anymore. He's an old man, he's tired of attending parades, he's tired of fixing ships. So Patrushev gave him an award, put Patrushev in an inflatable boat, and sent him off somewhere. Everything is inflatable in this Russia. Even the nuclear briefcase is probably inflatable too. Just the other day, Gennady Gudkov was telling me, he said, I once had a commander who was in charge of inflatable troops. I said, what do you mean inflatable? He told me, look, obviously he was in charge of the Air Force, but half the planes there were inflatable. Just so the Americans would sit around thinking we had lots of planes. The whole of Russia is inflated, you see. They inflate Trump. They try to inflate Trump every day, but Trump just won't inflate anymore. Now Medvedev is getting upset. Now we'll scatter this nuclear ash, somewhere over the Atlantic. The states will find out what Russia is really like. We'll start a war with the states and so on and so on and so on. They'll scatter Medvedev and his remains, you see, over the Atlantic or wherever else. Putin doesn't need him either, and he knows that perfectly well. Putin doesn't need anyone anymore. He'll just take someone like Kirill Dmitriev, put him in place, and be satisfied with that. But what can Vladimir Putin do next? I believe his last big push will be to try to move toward Kaliningrad and use Belarus as a forward outpost. I'm certain that he's going to remove Lukashenko and that he'll soon stir things up in Belarus. Maria Zakharova didn't open her mouth there for nothing. He will stage a coup in Belarus in the near future and will try to remove Alexander Lukashenko from power, replacing him with his own lieutenant colonel or colonel. Putin has an operation successor planned for Lukashenko. Are these plans present within the general staff? They're sitting there in drawers. Putin has these plans on his desk. The FSB has these plans too. Everything is ready for the elimination of Lukashenko and for a regime change in Belarus. Lukashenko knows this, and I think he will struggle until the very end. And I hope that he will outlast and despise Vladimir Putin and this regime to hell. You understand? But the fact is, Putin wants to take Belarus, and now he's already a second drone has flown, into Lithuanian territory. A Russian German drone has already flown into Vilnius. It's already been there. They've already shot it down. Today in Belarus, a drone was shot down. Somewhere in Minsk, I think they shot down a drone. Whose drone, I wonder, did they shoot down? Of course, it was Putin's. But why? Because it's necessary to provoke a war, because it's necessary to drag Lukashenko in. Lukashenko doesn't want to. That's why I think that in the coming month, there will be an escalation, a culmination of the situation. It will reach its peak. Somewhere around August, September, that will be the peak. And after that, we'll come to another turning point. The only question is, a turning point for what? A phase, a stage, or the entire war? That's the most crucial question. But I believe that we are at such a climactic point. The only question is this just another climax, or is it the final climax for Vladimir Putin and his regime?
Friends, please like this video. In the comments, write a few kind words in support of our tandem Sasha plus Dasha, Dasha plus Sasha. We work several times a week on my YouTube channel, on Dmitry Gordon's YouTube channel, so in the comments, let us know where you're watching from, your location. A few kind words in support of the armed forces of Ukraine. What do you think about our tandem? Sasha, when I watched that statement from Trump where he said he was tired of talking to Putin, that he was giving him just 10 or 12 days at most, then in another one of his frenzies, he declared his love for the Russian people again. But then he still said that Trump is dissatisfied with Putin. Honestly, all these melismas about the Russian people who are killing Ukraine and other nations, and yet for him, as he said, I love them very much, I really have no idea what's going on in Trump's head if he allows himself to say things like that. I wanted to ask you, will it be a maximum of 100% tariffs on secondary goods, right? China, India, and other countries that buy energy resources from Russia. Is that the maximum?
I don't think this is the limit. Listen, I think there will be weapons, there will be intelligence, there will be aid, and the Europeans will be purchasing aid as well. Listen, what about the 17 Patriot systems that Ukraine will definitely get, since Germany is already supplying 3 or has already supplied them? Is that not enough or what? Before, just try getting anything from Biden. Patriots and everything else. And what about the missiles that are being sent now? Is that not it? Is that not enough? And what about the 100% tariffs against India, Turkey, for example, countries like Bulgaria, which has become a hub and is trucking huge amounts of sanctioned goods to Turkey, Central Asia, and Kazakhstan as well? Is that not the maximum? 100% tariffs and negotiations so that no Indians do business with Russians, no deals are made at all. And what about cutting Russia's budget by another 3 or 4 trillion rubles? Is that not the maximum either? You see, I don't care who Trump loves, his wife, Elon Musk, some people. I don't care who he loves. What matters to me is what he does. I always look at actions, I look at deeds, and I look at where things are heading. You see, I pay attention to what money is coming in, what weapons are coming in, and so on. Let him declare his love for Putin every day and then hand over missiles to Ukraine and bomb him to hell, you know? He's even declared his love for Musk. Where is Musk? Now the head of Roscosmos has come to the US. He's going to negotiate with the director of NASA, and I think will meet with Elon Musk. There's your answer. Putin's negotiator is already in the US, already in Washington, you see? He's already there. They passed it on through him. Who is our new head of Roscosmos? He's a person close to Ekaterina Tikhonova. Whose interests were being pushed? Whose interests were being promoted in the States during those meetings? Like when Kirill Dmitriev was there with his friends, with Likov, his business partner. The interest of Roscosmos and that director personally, look up his last name later. They change like gloves. So now they're already there. They've already flown. They're already getting anxious. They don't care about that propagandist Skabiva or about how Kiselyov, Solovyov, and Dmitry Kiselyov make their statements. They don't care about what Medvedev says. They've already sent a negotiator. They're already scared. They're already in a cold sweat. They don't want this. Anyone can say whatever they want. Venediktov can claim that the Moscow exchange, well, exactly, that the Moscow exchange didn't react at all. Just wait, it will react. Can you imagine what will happen when the Indians refuse everything, stop buying? The Turks will stop supplying, especially given the problems with Azerbaijan. They'll stop supplying everything to Russia, sanctioned goods, dual-use goods, even non-dual-use goods. Can you even imagine what that would be like? How will the fat cats howl then? He already has problems. There's a recession. There's a decline. Let me put it in plain, simple terms. Everything in Russia is falling apart. And now imagine this. Multiply it by 10 by 20. What would that look like? Isn't that enough already? Others haven't even done that much. That's why I think Trump will give weapons to Ukraine. There will be sanctions. Wait, there will be hellish sanctions imposed by Congress as well. Trump will play around for a bit, then he'll say, wait, I've got another ace up my sleeve. Hold on, now there's Congress and the Senate, Graham's hellish sanctions. We'll come to an agreement with the Indians about the 100%, we'll hold negotiations. But I can't stop them. There will be another 500%, just wait. Obviously, this isn't meant to happen in a single day. It will have a cumulative effect. It will last a long time. And during this period, Putin will be relentlessly bombing and carrying out massive large-scale strikes and so on. That's what he'll be doing. He's already doing it. There haven't even been any, look, there were 50 days. Now it's been 10 or 12 days. And he still kept striking Odessa, the maternity hospital, Kharkiv, the maternity hospital, Dnipro. Just now he hit the maternity hospital in the Dnipropetrovsk region. It's just horrific. In Kamyansk. Let me remind you, a 23-year-old pregnant girl died. She was just there for observation, probably, and she died. Well, she, a man, and the unborn child. So what? And what? He hasn't done this before. He has. Will he keep doing it? He will. And right now, the most crucial thing is for America to give Ukraine weapons to help destroy and crush all of Russia's offensive actions, to wipe out everything in the rear, to carry out not just one, but several special operations with Ukraine, to arm Ukraine to the teeth, to fully protect Ukrainian skies, to reassure the Europeans, and give them any guarantees necessary so that they hand over patriots to Ukraine. Give Ukraine everything they're supposed to, because the Europeans are sleeping, but the Americans are not. The Americans have made up their minds. They said, let's do it. Well, that's the idea. The Europeans fell asleep. They said 6 to 8 months. There are no 6 to 8 months. Let's do it now. But the board is still turning in our favor, Dash. Unfortunately, it's happening against the backdrop of tragedies, these kinds of tragedies, every single day. It's terrible, just terrible what he's doing. A huge number of people killed at once in a single day. Innocent people, completely innocent people. So friends, please keep supporting. But the fact is, things are going to get heated in Moscow, in St. Petersburg. There will be massive strikes, and these strikes will escalate. Look, there were also drone attacks on St. Petersburg today. He's not even there, and yet there were still attacks. We're already reaching St. Petersburg. Could anyone have imagined this before Trump? Could anyone have imagined this at the start of the fighting, at the beginning of the full-scale invasion? No, the war is evolving, and so is technology. I'm sure that within a year, the Americans will be supplying Ukraine with millions of drones, and then things definitely won't be fun for Russia, or for Putin, along with Russia.
The US delivered nuclear weapons to Britain on a plane with its transponders turned on, which is very important, with the transponders on, Bloomberg reports. According to the publication, the US is showing Russia that it is not reducing its nuclear presence in Europe. It was previously reported that, for the first time since 2008, the US has returned its nuclear weapons to Britain. Is this Trump sending greetings to Putin and to the Russian people whom Trump loves so much?
This is a message to Putin. This is a message to Medvedev. They sent B-class bombs, thermonuclear bombs, nuclear weapons on a military plane for the first time, as you correctly pointed out, since 2007-2008 to European territory. He will keep blackmailing Trump with his nuclear umbrella, with nuclear weapons, with his nuclear club. Tactical, strategic. Now, Medvedev is telling some story about Prague. Maybe he just wants to distract himself. I don't even know anymore. Some kind of plague has started there again. That Kadyrov went there and almost drowned. Shoigu has disappeared. That one supposedly shot himself, Starovoyt, and now Medvedev is talking about some kind of ashes. Everyone's getting ready, in my opinion. It's not clear, maybe for some kind of total plague, I don't know, maybe for executions in the Russian Federation, but this is a response. Because Trump has made it clear that now American nuclear weapons will be in Europe and in Britain. And if they keep playing around, those weapons will end up in Eastern Europe, near the Russian Federation's border. American nuclear bombs. And nothing else will be needed. Just like when they once deployed them in Turkey. Why did the Cuban Missile Crisis happen? When they put missiles in Turkey that could reach Moscow, they did it then, and now they'll put them somewhere in Turkey, in Poland, or somewhere else. To Germany. Well, not Germany, but they could probably put them in Poland or somewhere else. So will that be fun for you? That's why, yes, transponders. Let's just clarify. Maybe many people don't know what that is. It's the device that transmits signals, which can be detected by intelligence or aviation services to see what's happening. They sent a signal to Vladimir Putin. American nuclear weapons are in Europe. And now notice, even Trump, I'm not just talking about that $2.5 to $3 trillion deal. What did Trump do? He said, I buy my gas and my oil and my liquefied gas for $750 billion. And stop buying from Russia. That's it. There will be nothing else. And everyone agreed. And all of Europe signed on. All the Orbans, yes, the Slovaks, and so on. Everyone signed everything. And what about that? And what about that? What about beloved Vladimir Putin? What about the beloved Russian people? Well, that's how it is. Just like with Nord Stream 2, no gas, no electricity, no coal, nothing, no oil. And everything will go to America. And American weapons will go to Europe. But what if it's over 600 billion? What if American weapons start flowing into Europe? What does that mean? What's the logic here? What does logic tell us? That what is sitting in Europe, that is what's in Europe, will go to Ukraine. Does Putin have the ability to raise the stakes and take part in an arms race? No. He himself came out and said, we're going to cut the budget, we're going to reduce military spending. Why? He doesn't want to get involved in this war. He doesn't have the means. He'll be finished before the arms race is over. He doesn't have the strength or resources, and everyone understands that. He does more posturing, more blackmailing than he actually has real capabilities, you see? He doesn't have any of that. And Trump knows this. And he knows perfectly well that sanctions will hit Putin very hard. They'll hit very hard. No matter how much bravado there is in the Kremlin.
Who are you, Trump, to dictate when to start peace negotiations? Medvedev responded to Senator Graham's call for negotiations. American Senator Lindsey Graham commented on Medvedev's post on X about the risk of war between Russia and the US due to secondary sanctions. You and your clients will soon be deeply disappointed. You will also soon see that Joe Biden is no longer president. Sit down at the negotiating table, he wrote. In response, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council stated, everything will end when the objectives of the military operation are achieved. Take care of America first, old man. This was stated by Medvedev. Are we right in understanding that Putin absolutely doesn't care? And through Medvedev, he's basically saying, you impose sanctions, I'll keep waging war.
Old man, listen, maybe he's not addressing Trump. Maybe he's talking to Putin. Maybe Dmitry Anatolyevich Medvedev is offering his services, that he could remove Putin? Please arm him, send him a drone. Did you notice how Putin's security, or I don't know, Putin's triple in St. Petersburg was walking around with anti-drone systems? Didn't notice? They showed it for everyone to see, how they were carrying mini drones in their hands. Soon they'll be carrying bazookas like Schwarzenegger. Now there are portable toilets, armored limousines, armored trains, different motorcades, different planes, anti-drone systems. Soon they'll be carrying a bronze Putin around. You get it? Inflatable ships and completely burned down residences and houses of Vladimir Putin. Well, he's already lost his mind, gone completely crazy over there. But further, you see, let them keep blackmailing. First of all, Trump has Medvedev on his radar. He said so himself in St. Petersburg. If he writes again, he'll regret it. I think Trump has the power, the means, and the ability to make sure such statements aren't made anymore. He just sent nuclear weapons to Europe. Russia will try to do something, to make some noise, maybe try to conduct some exercises. The Americans will hold exercises all around the perimeter of the Russian Federation. They'll scare Putin somewhere near Leningrad. They'll block the Danish Straits. They'll cut off all flows of sanctioned goods. And China will abandon Putin. They'll make a deal with the Chinese, and together with the Japanese, they'll give Putin a big surprise near the Kuril Islands, which he'll find very interesting and entertaining. Notice, the most crucial thing that has happened recently is that Trump took the Caucasus, Azerbaijan, Armenia from Putin, and I think he'll take Georgia too. In what sense will he take it? He just took it and brought it into the American orbit, away from Moscow. So what? And where? And was Putin able to do that? No. And what else did Trump do? Together with the Turks, with a NATO member country? Putin, they just took Syria away from Putin, took the Middle East away from Putin, and now they're about to squeeze Libya out of Putin's hands in Africa. They'll wipe out all the mercenaries there, Russian ones, to hell in a few years. And another thing, what about Iran? How's that going? Did Vladimir Putin help? Iran has been riddled like a sieve, even with its nuclear weapons, with those bombs, 9 bombs, that they were so bravely, so boastfully threatening the whole world with, especially Israel and the States. So where is all of it now? Where is it all? And yesterday, Trump also said, we will keep striking Iran and their nuclear facilities. In other words, Putin has lost a lot over the past weeks, the past months, the past half year. He will also lose all his opportunities in the Ukrainian direction and in Belarus as well. He didn't just go to Belarus for nothing. Either it was negotiations, separate talks with Lukashenko, so that Lukashenko would turn away from Putin by 180 degrees and shift toward Trump and betray Putin. And he will betray this Vladimir Putin. That's why Medvedev can say whatever he wants. Medvedev's problem isn't that he's become an alcoholic. Medvedev's problem isn't just that he could have become president a second time, could have made it so that Putin was no longer in Russia and saved his country from disgrace. Medvedev's problem is something else. Medvedev's problem is that his life hangs by a thread, that nobody there needs him, that he's worse than Zhirinovsky, that he's a clown, but he's an unfunny clown, an untalented clown, a mediocre clown. And Medvedev's problem is that Putin doesn't need him, and nobody in Russia needs him either, that he's just a prop, a facade that can easily be moved, replaced, destroyed in an instant, and so on. In essence, he has become a nobody, even though he could have been everything in the Russian Federation, playing on the tablet that Barack Obama gave him. And now Donald Trump, well, he won't do anything to Medvedev, but he will do a lot of things regarding Russia. And neither Putin nor Medvedev nor the elite will like that. And I am sure, Dasha, that we will see the day when even Medvedev will be among the conspirators trying to remove Vladimir Putin from power, because Putin won't leave anyone, none of the old cronies behind. Not Medvedev, not Shoigu, not any of these ministers, not any of these nullified oligarchs. No one will be left. It will either be Putin or there will be no Putin.
I've prepared 2 topics for you for the finale. In short, Russia has banned the export of gasoline until the end of August. The decision is related to a shortage on the domestic market due to complications at refineries caused by drone attacks and sanctions. Bloomberg.
But before, they had an agreement, a pact accordingly between all the directors, all the owners of the refineries, and directly all those gas stations in Russia, that they would keep prices at the level of inflation and not raise them. There was always artificial pricing there, but what do they have now? What do they have now? Putin ordered them to keep inflation down. And it turns out they need to raise prices, but they can't do anything. So exporting is unprofitable. There will soon be a fuel crisis in Russia, a fuel crisis. And if Ukraine continues to strike oil refineries, especially in the central region, Moscow Oblast, the central regions of Russia, where the major refineries are concentrated, not in the south, but the big ones in the north and center of the Russian Federation, then it will definitely get very heated. In that case, there would be no need to carry out any aversive attacks on Aeroflot. It will simply be grounded because there won't be any fuel. And there won't be any fuel at Russian gas stations either. And people will be running around with jerry cans, with metal cans running around for 10 or 20 liters, refueling from each other, looking for all sorts of mixtures to blend and so on. You understand? There will be nothing good about it. This is a crisis. It's growing. It's escalating. And the mess is just getting bigger and bigger. But it would be better if they weren't so worried about gasoline and whether to export it or not. It would be better if they didn't export their Valentina Ivanovna Matvienko. She just attended her parliamentary congress in Geneva. Supposedly, they tried to silence her there. We're sick and tired of you already. You just sit there, you know. One moment you invite a conductor, Gergiev. Then you invite Matvienko along with Slitsky and other sanctioned comrades from the Russian Duma, that so-called State Duma. Just calm down over there. Ukraine needs weapons, not Matvienko in Geneva. What the hell is she even doing in Geneva? That Valka the Glass. They're all alcoholics, seriously, just think about it. Medvedev is an alcoholic. He's drunk himself into oblivion. Matvienko is glued to the bottle. Everyone has cancer. They're all drunk and they're all scared. Only Putin doesn't drink, and he's destroying everyone over there in Russia. It's insane. How could they have brought the country so low?
I'll just finish by saying that in Russia, they've finally found an impressive way to fight drones. Only the ringing of church bells works against them. Artemy Vladimirov, a proto-priest, called the ringing of bells the best way to fight Ukrainian drones.
Let me give you the recipe very briefly. Send all these guys in cassocks, the security officers, together with the bells, under the Kremlin. Let them ring the bells. Just wait. After a day of ringing, Putin will finally lose his mind completely. Right under all his portable toilets, under all his residences, bring the bells and a religious procession right there. Together with Gundyaev. Take Gundyaev to the Kremlin and ring the bells like crazy, until he just goes completely mad from all that ringing. If it really helps against drones, and in St. Petersburg too, take it all there, take everything. No need for any anti-missile systems, send everything to Rubliovka. Neither the Kremlin nor St. Petersburg needs any anti-missile defenses. Nothing is needed. No need to protect Palace Square. Bells, bells, send the archpriest there, send Gundyaev there, and ring the bells there. Keep ringing and just watch the drones and watch the fireworks.
And only the ringing of church bells will save Russia from Tomahawks, JSMs, Tauruses, and the long Neptune.
And do you know who will be the last to strike the bell? Donald Trump. That's right, just wait and see. You'll hear the bells ringing in about 10 days, and it will sound really good, loud enough for all of Ivanovskaya Square to hear. Do you understand? From Prechistenka it will start and go all the way to Malaya Obronaya.
Friends, Sasha and I will definitely discuss Trump's final bell as well. That will happen soon. I'm sure our next episode will be dedicated to it.
Evening bells, evening bells. Remember? Amazing. Yes.
I'm sure Sasha will even sing in the next episode, so stay tuned. Friends, please like this video. Leave a few kind words in the comments to support our duo. Dasha plus Sasha, Sasha plus Dasha, coming soon to all screens. Dasha plus Sasha, thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye.